In this video, we're going to go through an introduction to TMDL. We're going to go through what it is, how to use it, and how it can help you collaborate better. All of that and more. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, my name is Fernan and welcome to the Solutions Abroad YouTube channel, where we cover tips, tricks, and best practices when working with Power BI. I upload new videos every week, so make sure you hit that subscribe button and the bell icon to get notified when a new one is out. So in a recent Power BI feature update, specifically the February 2024 one, they recently announced the ability for you to now save your semantic models in a TMDL format. So if you don't know yet, a few months ago, the Power BI team has released the ability to save your Power BI desktop files into these new type files called the Power BI projects. So instead of saving your Power BI files in the Power BI desktop as .PBIX, it now allows you to save or gives you the ability to save your files into this project PBIP type, which segregates your model from your actual report. And I already covered Power BI project.pbip files in a separate video, and there are a bunch of different reasons why you should think about using it. So one is that it gives you a much more human readable code if you want to edit it or view your reports outside of Power BI. But apart from that, it also allows you to use some sort of version control softwares like GitHub for kind of easier collaboration or for versioning your reports as you normally would in a kind of software development lifecycle. I've been using So ever since they released the Power BI project kind of setting, I've been using it along with GitHub with my teammates. And for the past couple of months, it's been pretty good for us. It allows us to kind of work on different things and commit our changes and collaborate on it better, which I think is a fantastic addition. However, because this is a preview feature, you just have to bear in mind that it will have its kinks. Specifically, when I do work and collaborate with my teams, I do find it that if we are working on the same model together and we overwrite or merge our changes, it does cause some errors. And I'm not sure if it's because I'm not using it right but anyway, we haven't really looked much into what these errors are. So in the end, we just decided, since it's a small team, we just have a discussion among us to only be working on one aspect of a report at a time. So if someone is working on the data model, only one person should be working and committing for that one project at a time to avoid any conflicts. So this new option that has been enabled for us is a new one, the TMDL, which stands for Tabular Model Definition Language. And we're going to cover how it differs from the previous one. So let's have a look at all of these different types and how they differ from each other. So let's have a look at this report first of all. So this is the report that the demo file that I used for a visual calculation functions report. The details of this report is not too important, but we just have some things set up in the semantic model and some visuals so that we can kind of show how this data is stored in these different versions. So when you click the cog icon here, and just make sure that you're up to date with your Power BI desktop version, at least the February 2024 one, under preview features, you will now see a few options here. So here is the first option, which allows you to save your projects in a .pbip file. With the February option, you will also have this option to store your semantic model using the TMDL format. So this basically replaces the file type that gets saved when you choose the PBIP option when you save your reports into a TMDL format. So what does that mean? So I haven't really ticked it yet. I did give it a try before and I already saved the file. So I just want to show you how it looks like. So if we go here, and what you'll notice when you choose to save a report, in Power BI desktop, you have the default option, the .PBIX extension file, which is what you would be used to. But you will see that you also have this new option, the PBIP file, which will, as I mentioned to you, and we've talked about it before, it just creates a segregation folder to separate your reports and your semantic model. And choosing the TMDL file just simply changes the way that it's stored. So I have created these 3 different folders in my repository at the moment just to compare and contrast the differences. So the first one is the PBIX type format. And as you can see, it's a fairly simple one. It's one file, and when you double click on it, it opens up and it contains both your reports and your datasets inside. So fairly simple and, very easy to manage. This is just one file, you just share it around. But the problem is that if you want to do any version control over it, or maybe just have a peek under the hood just to see, maybe you just want to see what tables it has or what relationships it has, you won't be able to edit it like you normally would. If you hit edit here, for example, you will see that, the values inside is not really human readable. It's not to be viewed in a text editor, whereas the saving your files in the PBIP format solves. So going to the next version, the TMSL. So this is the version that gets saved if you save your report as a PBIP project file without ticking the TMDL option. So it's basically this version where you just have this one ticked, the PBIP option, and you hit save and then you choose the PBIP option. And as you can see, it looks a lot different, right? So there are a few more things in here. So you have your PBIP file here, which leverages the values across these 2 folders, the dataset and the report. So when you publish reports in the service, you will notice that it always publishes 2 values, the report and the dataset. And that is what the PBIX basically encapsulates. And now the PBIP kind of exposes those values and separates them. And what's great about this PBIP option is that a lot of the definitions, a lot of the values that make up your reports is now readable in a kind of human readable format, the JSON format. So for example, if you hit this edit from this section, it will open up our notepad here and you will see that the values are readable to you. So it's actually using some alphabetical letters, albeit in a JSON format. So you will kind of still need some text editor that supports JSON. But in this case, you can you have this segregation and you can edit them and see them outside of Power BI. So with TMDL, the majority of your model, or at the very least, how it's built up, the relationships, the tables, they are all stored in this singular BIM file, the model.bin. So if you hit edit here, you will see that like everything that we have set up in our model is kind of here in a JSON type format. Now, our model is fairly simple. I mean, it's fairly small, but I believe this is the main difference that we have between the TMSL and the TMDL. So here you would still need to kind of use some, text editor to read through this. And obviously, because it's one file, the bigger your model is, the bigger this file gets, which becomes a little bit more unreadable. So let's open up TMDL and the TMSL side by side just to see what the difference is. So on the left, we have the TMSL and the right, we have the TMDL. And the main difference that it has is essentially what it has on the dataset folder. So if you look at the dataset folder, the main difference is that the TMDL version now doesn't have the BIM file. So the BIM file is now replaced by this definition folder, which essentially creates a folder structure that mimics what you see when you open up your model in places like the Tabular editor, for example. So you will have things like your tables in separate TMDL files. You will have your relationships, models, your cultures in different folders. And, since our model is a little bit small, it doesn't have the rest of the other definitions here. But if it did, like, for example, row level security or perspectives, these would be stored here as separate files in a TMDL format. So segregating your files or your model into these, logical groupings or logical files makes it easier for your users or to collaborate, especially if you don't want to have sort of conflicting changes. If, for example, one person is only working on the table data or one person is only working on measures, they don't have to worry about, affecting other parts of the model, relationships or whatnot, if they're not really using that part. So they can just update the files that they are working with. Unlike the TMSL version, which only has the singular BIM file. So if any changes happens to that, it affects the whole file itself. What you'll notice, another difference that you might find is that the format, the TMDL formats, will look a little bit different from how you would normally see. Another thing that you might notice is that the TMDL format is not the JSON type format, but I do find that it's a little bit easier to read just because it removes the noise of, the different notations in JSON. So here is how the TMDL format looks like for the calendar table, for example. So, because it's in a text, you can open it with any text editor. You can make your changes yourself here if you're feeling brave enough. But to be honest with you, I've never had to make any changes to my reports outside of Power BI, so I've never really had to test it for myself. But the only reason why I like it is that I can use version control to monitor and commit my changes whenever I need to. Just bear in mind that saving in a Power BI project or saving your semantic models in a TMDL format are both features that are in preview at the moment. So there might be some cases where it might cause some issues and break your report. So it's always good to take precautions and make sure that you are taking regular backups of your reports before you start saving and building your pipelines around these file types. So that's just one thing to bear in mind if you want to start using TMDL or Power BI projects in the future. If you want to learn, and I'm sure I didn't do the TMDL type justice because it seems like this is going to be the new format of saving semantic models in PBIP. So if you want to learn more about it and read up about its other quirks and other considerations, I'll leave a link to the Microsoft documentation in the description box below. And that's really it for this video. I hope you now know what TMDL is and how you can start using it in your Power BI reports. Thanks for watching. As usual, give this video a like if you found it useful. Give it a dislike if you didn't, so as to do better for next time. Ask your questions in the comment section box below so I can help you and you can help others. If you like this video, we have a Patreon page where you can support the channel and get exclusive perks like early access, demo files, and credits at the end of these videos. Thanks again for watching and see you in the next one. Bye-bye.